Hey guys, welcome back to our podcast. I'm Sophia and I'm Emma, and today we're talking about something that every single one of us struggles with at some point: discipline. Yep, whether it's trying to stick to a new habit, stay off social media, or just get out of bed when your alarms goes off, discipline is hard. But it's also the secret sauce to building the life you really want. Like all the goals we talk about, fitness, career, relationships, they all require discipline. Totally. I used to think success was all about talent or motivation, but the more I worked on myself, the more I realized discipline is everything. It's doing the thing even when you don't feel like it. Yes, and we want this conversation to feel like you're just hanging out with two friends, chatting about real life struggles and wins with discipline. No fluff, just real talk. So let's start with this. Emma, have you always considered yourself a disciplined person? Absolutely not. In fact, for most of my life, I thought I was lazy. I used to start projects and never finish them. I'd go hard for 3 days, then completely fall off. It wasn't until my mid 20s that I realized discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about coming back again and again. Same. I thought I just wasn't that type of person. You know, those people who wake up at 5 a.m., meditate, journal, hit the gym, cook all their meals. I thought that's just not me. But I realized it's not about being naturally disciplined, it's about creating systems that make discipline easier. Exactly, and I think that's the first myth we should bust. Discipline isn't a personality trait, it's not something you're born with, it's something you build. 100%, and it's built in the tiny moments, not the big dramatic ones. Okay, I love this. Let's dive into that. The tiny moments. What are some small things you do to stay disciplined? Okay, one big one. I leave my phone outside the bedroom at night. It sounds so simple, but it changes everything. I used to waste like 30 minutes every night scrolling and then wake up groggy. Now my mornings feel so much more intentional. That's such a good one. I do the opposite actually. I put my phone in my room, but I use an app that locks everything until I've done my morning routine. I love that. Yeah, it's called One Sec. Every time I try to open Instagram in the morning, it forces me to take a breath and think, do I really want to open this app? It's like having a mini accountability buddy in my phone. That's genius. It's funny how discipline sometimes comes down to tricking your brain, like setting up your environment so that your default behavior is the one you want. Exactly. Like with fitness, I don't want to work out every day, but I lay out my clothes the night before, put my water bottle by the door, and make it so easy that I don't have to think. And that's the thing. Most people think they need more motivation when really they just need less friction. That's so good. Say that again. Most people think they need more motivation when really they just need less friction. Preach. Okay, so let's talk about one of the hardest parts of discipline. What do you do when you completely fall off? Like you plan to stick to a habit, you were doing great, and then boom, life happens and you're off track. That's such a real thing. I used to spiral when that happened. Like if I missed one journaling session, I'd think, well, I ruined the streak. Might as well give up. But now I remind myself it's not about the streak, it's about coming back. Yes, that moment you choose to come back is the most important one. One mistake doesn't ruin your progress, but telling yourself, I'm the kind of person who always quits, that ruins progress. So now, if I miss a day, I say, cool, let's start again tomorrow. Zero guilt, just a rest. That mindset shift is everything. It turns discipline into a relationship with yourself, not a punishment, but a commitment. That's such a powerful way to look at it. Discipline as a commitment to yourself, not a punishment. I think a lot of people hear the word discipline and automatically feel resistance, like it sounds cold or harsh. Exactly. It's got this military, no fun vibe to it. But when I reframed it as self respect, it completely changed my perspective. I love that. Could you say more about that? Okay, so think about it. If you respect someone, you show up for them. You don't bail on them. You keep your word. So if you really respect yourself, you do the same. You honor the promises you make to yourself. Wow, that hits deep. because I used to keep promises to everyone except myself. I'd bend over backwards to show up for friends, for work, for family, but when it came to my own goals, I'd flake all the time. Same, and it wasn't until I started treating my own goals like appointments, like non negotiables, that things shifted. Even if it's just a 10-minute walk or journaling session, I put it in my calendar and protect it. Yes, protecting your time like it's sacred, because it is. It really is. And here's the thing, once you start keeping those promises to yourself, your confidence grows. You trust yourself more. You stop relying on motivation and start relying on your identity. That's so true. It's like a feedback loop. Every small act of discipline tells your brain, hey, I'm the kind of person who follows through. And then the next act becomes easier. Yes, and identity based habits are so powerful. Instead of saying I'm trying to be healthy, you say I am a healthy person. That shift changes how you show up. That reminds me of something I read in James Clear's Atomic Habits. He talks about how every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. Yes, that book totally changed how I think about habits and discipline. And it's so empowering because it means that even the smallest action counts. Okay, let's talk about something I know a lot of people struggle with, distractions. How do you stay disciplined when your phone is dinging every 5 seconds, or you've got a million tabs open and your brain's all over the place? That's a big one. I definitely don't always get it right, but I've created a few rules for myself. Like when I'm doing focused work, I keep my phone in another room. I also use the do not disturb feature religiously. Me too, and sometimes I'll even put my phone in a drawer and set a timer for 30 minutes, not checking in it, no peeking, just me and the task at hand. That's so good. I also block websites that distract me, like news or social media when I need to write or create. Same, I use a site blocker called Freedom. You can schedule focus blocks ahead of time and literally won't let you open the distracting stuff. It's wild how much easier it is to be disciplined when the temptation is removed. Like we're not robots, we cannot rely on willpower all day long. Right, willpower is a finite resource. That's why environment design is so key. If your space is full of triggers and distractions, you're making it 10 times harder on yourself. Yes, it's not about being stronger, it's about being smarter, setting yourself up to win. Okay, here's another question. How do you stay disciplined when you're emotionally drained, like when you're anxious or going through something heavy? That's such an important one. I think a lot of people push themselves too hard during those moments and then they burn out. For me, I've learned that discipline during those times means doing the bare minimum to keep the habit alive. Yes, I call it my minimum baseline. Like if I'm too stressed to work out, I'll just do 5 minutes of stretching. Or instead of journaling a full page, I'll write one sentence. Exactly. That way you maintain the identity you tell yourself. I still showed up even if it looked different than usual. And honestly, those small acts matter so much. They keep the momentum going because the hardest part is always restarting after stopping completely. Yes, momentum is everything. Even if you're crawling, you're still moving forward. Okay, this is kind of random, but I'm curious, what's the most surprising thing you've learned about discipline? Good question. I think the most surprising thing was realizing that discipline actually creates more freedom, not less. Yes, that's such a paradox, right? Yeah, I used to think being disciplined meant living a boring, rigid life, but now I realize it means I don't have to stress about deadlines or scramble last minute or feel guilty all the time. I get to enjoy my downtime because I earned it. Totally. When you're disciplined, your life feels more calm and intentional. You're not always in reaction mode. Right, and you can make space for joy and creativity because you've built a foundation of trust with yourself. So well said. Okay, so let's talk about setbacks, like the moments where you completely crash and burn. Maybe it's a week of junk food, or skipping the gym, or totally ghosting your creative goals. How do you handle those? Been there. I think the key for me has been separating my actions from my identity. Just because I had a messy week doesn't mean I'm undisciplined, it means I'm human. Yes, that self compassion is everything. I used to beat myself up so hard, like I'd miss a few days and immediately go into, see, you always do this, you'll never change. And that mindset was way more damaging than the actual setback. Exactly. The guilt spiral is what wrecks your momentum. Now I try to talk to myself like I would a friend, like, hey, it's okay, you had a rough few days, let's ease back in. And sometimes the comeback just needs to be gentle. Like instead of jumping back into the full routine, I'll start with one small action, one win to remind myself that I'm back on track. I love that. It's like rebuilding trust with yourself one step at a time. Totally. And I also think it helps to reflect on why you slipped, not in a judgmental way, but just observing. Was I overcommitted? Was I avoiding something emotionally? That's a huge. A lot of the time, what we call laziness is actually just overwhelm or fear. Yes, like I'll procrastinate on something for days, and when I finally sit down to do it, it's done in 20 minutes, and I'm like, wait, what was I so afraid of? It's usually perfectionism or self doubt. I know for me, sometimes I avoid things because I'm afraid they won't be good enough. Oh my gosh, same. I used to delay editing videos for weeks because I was scared they wouldn't turn out how I imagined. And then I'd beat myself up for not being disciplined. That's such a real cycle. Discipline isn't just about managing time, it's about managing emotions. Market drop, that's it. And the more you understand your emotional patterns, the more power you have to work with them, not against them. Yes, and I think that's where self awareness comes in, like journaling, therapy, even just talking things out with friends. Those are tools that support discipline. Totally, because once you see your patterns clearly, you can interrupt them. Like, oh, I see I'm avoiding my goals because I'm afraid of being judged. Cool, now I can deal with that, not just beat myself up for not being productive. And that brings me to another important thing community, like having people around you who support your discipline, not sabotage it. Yes, let's talk about that because sometimes the people around you don't get it. They'll say, come on, just skip the gym, or why are you being so strict with yourself? Oh my gosh, yes, and it's often well meaning, but it can really derail you if you're not grounded in your why. Totally. I had to learn how to say this matters to me, even if it doesn't make sense to you. And sometimes that meant creating a little space from people who constantly pulled me off track. That's hard, but so necessary. Discipline is hard enough without constantly feeling like you have to defend it. Right? That's why I love having accountability partners, even if it's just a text check in like, hey, did you stick to your plan today? It helps so much. Yes, I used to think I had to do everything alone, but discipline actually thrives in connection. When you have people who believe in your goals, it feels so much more doable. And even better if those people are on the same path. Like if you're both working on fitness or creativity or building a business, you can support each other through the depths. So, to wrap things up, if you take nothing else from this video, let it be this. Discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent, kind to yourself, and creating the habits that support the life you want. That's it. Just keep going. Every step, no matter how small, is progress. And remember, you have the power to choose every single day. I love that. And if you slip up, it's okay. You're not a failure. You're a human. The key is to get back up no matter how many times you fall. So true. You've got this. We believe in you, and we hope this conversation gave you some tools, some insights, and some motivation to get disciplined on your terms. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. We're rooting for you. And remember, little by little, you'll get there. Stay disciplined, stay kind to yourself, and stay consistent. You've got this. See you next time.